Alrighty. Okay, so I think we're live here. And trying to figure out the live chat thing here. Go ahead and if you're watching, you can go ahead and say something in chat and we'll see if anybody can see and hear me. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Lori. Very good. Hi, Douglas. Hi, Terry. Okay. So I hope everybody's doing well tonight. It is, let's see, it's about 6 o'clock in the evening here at in Colorado. And we actually had some nice weather today. We still have about 4 feet of snow outside, but at 55 degrees, it was melting pretty quick today. And I've been looking forward to seeing you guys. And hi, Karen. And I guess we'll just kind of go ahead and get started here. So the reason that I wound up, okay, I'm checking a setting here. Hold on. So this is the first time I've ever done a live stream. So I'm hoping that we have all of the kinks worked out here. I've been kind of practicing, and I was able to hold an HD live stream for about an hour earlier this week. So that was kind of a good test. Hi, Linda. Hi, Donald. Hi from Nova Scotia. Wow. Hi, Dawn. All right. So welcome, everybody. Let's go ahead and take a look at these realistic flames here. So one of the reasons that I thought this would be a fun project is because it's very abstract. Flames may seem really complicated, but we're going to kind of break it down to more simplified shapes and do a lot of soft shading. So, but this is a great learning example, because if you are wood burning like an animal or a portrait or anything, what I do is break down what you're seeing into abstract shapes. And then you don't have to worry so much about getting, the eyeball correct or the nose or the fingers. If you just break down each one of those elements into really abstract shapes and then burn them the appropriate value, that's kind of how I work. Okay, so hi, Lillian. Okay, so about 5 minutes ago, I turned on my burner, and I'm using the Walnut Hollow Creative Versatool with this adjustable temp. So let's see if I can remove this tape for you here. So I'm using it currently on the max setting, the high heat, and I just use a little piece of tape there to kind of keep that from adjusting during our burning. Okay, so since this fire has a black background to it, so I would start by, oh, here, let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. I'll try to stay in the frame for everybody here. So I'm going to start along this right-hand side. Because I am right-handed, it's just a little bit easier based on the shape of that shading point. So I'm going to lay it fairly flat. Hi, Terry. You're welcome. I really appreciate all of you guys for supporting me and being here. And I'd like to give you guys a lot of value, but I kind of struggle with the amount of time that I have to devote to, the tutorials and these really in-depth things that take a lot of time with video editing and all that. So I'm hoping that this will be a better way to get you guys some more information a little bit quicker. Okay. So again, I'm going to use this point at kind of a shallow angle, and I'm going to start burning around the outside. Now by holding this really flat, like almost flat against the wood, not quite, this edge right here is going to be real soft. Now to contrast, if I were to rock this point way up like this, if you can see the angle, if I were to rock it up really high and dig in like this, it would create kind of a dent or a ridge right there. So we don't want that at this time. Hi Lynx Lady. Hi Steve. All right. So we're just gonna do a light outline here, and we're gonna kind of work our way around the edges. But this fire kind of blends into the background, which is why I want a softer edge to this. Hi Larry. So if I had a really extreme angle and really gouged into the wood doing this initial outline, you would always see that indentation, and you can't really blend that out. And so when you have a subject that you want to kind of push back and blend into the background, you want everything to have just really soft edges. Okay, so I'm still in there. Now on the video, it looks like that one pass is really dark. However, it's not. It's more of just a dark brown. So you can kind of go back over that a little bit again. And I'm just kind of doing a smooth back and forth motion every time I set that burner onto the wood and off the wood. It's kind of like that airplane taking off and landing. You want a really smooth transition. Okay, I'll try to stay where you can see. All right, so I'm going to work my way up this way and just kind of repeat. Now, I don't think that we can get through this whole thing in an hour. So I may jump around a little bit so I can kind of show you different aspects of the project. Hi, Dances with Aardvarks. That's really cool. Okay, that's a good question, Larry. Larry says, if I lay the point almost flat, won't I have overburn? And the answer is yes. So this is where, whoops, wrong way. I'm trying to zoom in a little bit here. So that's exactly right. Yes, there will be overburn, and overburn is kind of our nemesis here. So right here you can see as I'm holding this point very flat, Larry is right, and yes, I am getting overburn right there. This is where burning for your hand position is kind of important. Because I am right-handed, I can kind of get away with this without turning the wood yet. You'll want to turn the wood to avoid that overburn. Okay, so I see my camera's not focusing. Give me a second and I will do a manual focus here. If you can hang on with me 1 minute. No. Okay, one more time here. Spot focus. Ah, here we go. Okay, hopefully that will stay in focus. Okay. All right. How's that? Is that looking okay? Okay, it should stay in focus now. So, again, because I am right-handed and the shape of this tool, yes, we are going to have overburn along this edge. So I am only going to be working on the right-hand side at this time. So, for example, there's a little woohoo right in here. I'm going to move the burner quite quickly to kind of get in here and outline that and get out before the overburn. So adjusting your stroke speed can really help, especially if you're in tight areas. But if you've got a big expanse of black out here, you can just kind of stay in that area and burn this nice and dark with a soft flat edge and not really worry about the overburn, because we'll blend all that in later. So for this area here, I can't get this edge when I'm right-handed because I'll get overburn. So that's when you're going to need to turn the wood and just work on it from a different side. Now normally when I do my tutorials, I try to maintain the wood. I try not to turn it a lot because it kind of makes you guys, I don't know, I would think it would make you woozy, me turning it all the time. But hi Lillian. Okay, Lillian asks, if the pencil lines are going to be burned on the outside, can the pencil pattern lines be stronger? Yes. So I'm assuming you mean like when you transfer the image onto the wood and you press down on that graphite a little bit harder, it's going to make a darker line. And if you are burning dark black backgrounds, yes, you don't have to sand those. And that's something that I meant to kind of explain at the beginning, is if your graphite lines are too dark, you can go ahead and sand those down before you burn. Because once we get into the lighter areas, you don't want to see those. Those are, once you burn over them, you can't get rid of them. So I'm still using a pretty flat angle in here, but you may notice you'll get overburn in a couple areas, so it's okay to kind of bounce around and get out of there and let the wood kind of cool down. Okay, and so this is kind of where it's handy to not have your reference photo taped all the way down like I have. Okay. So here's, you're welcome, Lillian. So here is, we've got a nice edge started here. Now, let me zoom out a tad. Nope, wrong way. I'll get it figured out. Okay. So as we continue to work around and burn all of these edges here, you would want to continue to turn the wood into that optimal position so that you're burning for your hand type. So if you're right-handed, you would start on the right-hand side. If you're left-handed, then you would want to start on this edge here. So if that makes sense. Now it's kind of just a weird thing because of the walnut hollow burner and the shading point that I prefer to use, that you kind of have to work around that. But with other points, I suppose you could do that differently. And I do want to try doing live streams with other burners and other points just kind of for fun. So Larry, are you on your highest setting of the Versatool to get it so black? Yes. At the beginning of the video, we kind of talked about that this is on max heat, and then it's just kind of secured so it doesn't shift. If you are using a wire tip burner, such as the razor tip, I would not use it on high heat. You run a big chance of scorching and overburning. You would want to use more of a medium heat and just kind of be careful so that you don't scorch the wood. And that's one of the frustrating things that we do when we try to burn these big black backgrounds, is we try to just burn the heck out of them and crank up that temperature. The walnut hollow is not as hot as the Versatool, so we can kind of get away with that. It's hard to damage the surface of the wood with this unless you stay in one section too long. And then you'll notice as you continue to slide, it'll lift off the top layers of wood, which the razor tip is very, very easily, it can easily pull off that surface of the wood if on max heat. Okay, Dances with Aardvarks. Can you use the overburn to your advantage with flames, as they often don't have distinct edges? That is a very good point. And yes, I suppose you could. I'm a little bit of a control freak, so I don't know that I would want to take that chance. I would rather slowly work my way around and kind of do that shading myself. Okay. Yes, yeah, the tape definitely helps, Larry, because I'll be working sometimes and it's just I get frustrated because my point is not getting hot enough and I look and I'm completely on the wrong setting. So that's always a frustration. And I'm just using painter's tape and you have to replace it fairly often, but that's just kind of the way that is. Lillian, are you using a new point for this shading or a used one? This is a used one. I have used this one for years. Walnut Hollow did change their shading points a few years ago, and I'm not crazy about their changes. Really not crazy. It has kind of a sharper edge to it, which gouges. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit more, and I'm not crazy about it. So if you do have one of those newer points, and I think I have one somewhere here, you'll notice that the very tip kind of comes more to like a triangle, and it's kind of harsh. It has a ridge down the top of it. So you can take a light sanding pad and kind of sand that down to smooth it up if need be. So I hope that answers your question. So yes, this is a very worn out point. If you would want to do some fancy, portrait or something, I would take a new point and sand it down gently and kind of dull it up a bit. Okay, so Dawn, you're trying number 6 on the razor tip. Okay, how is that working? Is that giving you a pretty good dark background, black color, without damaging the wood? So for those using the razor tip, we'll see if Dawn can provide us a little bit more information with that and how she's doing. Okay, Steve, how much sanding did you do before you transferred the pattern? Okay, so before I transfer the pattern, yes, I do sand the wood. I usually work and do like, I don't know, maybe 10 pieces at a time because it's kind of a pain and it makes a big mess. But I start out with like a 120 grit, and I did a lot of this by hand early on, and I've now switched to an orbital sander, which is a big help. So I will start with the 120 and then kind of work up to like a 220 and then a 320 and then a 400 and then a 600. And because it takes time to switch those, oh, I'm out of the film. Let me zoom out a bit. Sorry about that. Because it takes time to switch out the sanding pads all the time, I will do like 10 and do all of them on 120 and then switch to 220 and do them all. So that kind of speeds that up just a little bit. And then after the pattern is transferred on, I will sand lightly, just a little bit, to kind of knock down those guidelines. Hi, Donald. So how do we prep the surface? Again, this basswood, yes, Douglas, it is basswood. The basswood comes planed and it's quite smooth, but I like to go ahead and smooth it down a little bit more. So I'll sand it with that orbital sander starting at 120 and then go up to about 600. And then you just kind of wipe off the dust and you're good to go. And then you can transfer on your pattern. Okay, Dawn. Okay. Dawn says she was trying this with the razor tip on a level 6. And I asked her if it was doing okay and not damaging the wood. She says, I believe so. Fairly new here. Dark burn, bit of smoke. Yeah, a lot of smoke. Definitely watch the takeoff and the landing. That higher heat can cause the point to stick, and then you're there too long, and then it kind of jumps forward and it pulls off the wood a little bit. You're welcome, Steve. Hi, Valerie. Hope you guys are all doing great tonight. Okay, So again, we're just kind of focusing on some of these random dark areas here. And I'm really trying to watch that overburn because there are some areas in here with really light values. But you can see that ghosting right along there. Okay. So hopefully this kind of gives you guys an idea of how to block in this area. You know what I might do is kind of focus on this area here, and we'll burn a smaller section and see if we can't move forward a little bit more. Alrighty, so we're going to take this and turn it upside down, and give me a moment and I'm going to move my reference photo as well. I don't normally tape it down on all four sides, but this guy's being kind of bad and he's curling, which makes it frustrating. Okay. And so this is the reference that I'm doing here. This is the reference photo, and you can see I just have gone over these with a red pen, and that's really all I'm using. If you want to use a computer, like a computer screen to kind of help you out, that's fine. Okay, Valerie, have I talked with Heineke Wood Products lately? The answer is no, I've not. Heineke Wood Products is a family-owned and operated business online that is great at creating custom, larger pieces of basswood. Some of the largest pieces that I have gotten is from them, and I think the biggest was like 2 foot by 3 foot. And I asked if they could do something bigger, and they said no. So that's kind of the upper limits of basswood. But no, I have not heard from them lately. Okay, so I have turned the burning upside down, and we're going to kind of work in this area here to get some of these folds so that we're not spending all night doing this. And that's one of the challenges is, as you know, wood burning just takes. Okay, Douglas, is there any tricks for fixing a scorched area? That's a good question. Most of the time when I think about fixing mistakes, before I go to fixing mistakes, my first course of action is preventing mistakes. Obviously, mistakes happen. You can kind of blend that area in a little bit more to try to hide it. But I find that jumping around, working in different areas can help just to try to avoid it to start with. Now, sanding to correct mistakes is kind of tricky. I don't like it because it changes the way the burning looks. It's kind of an odd thing, but it's almost like it turns it from more of a sepia brown to like an ochre brown, and it's probably kind of subtle, and I'm just a little bit fussy, but I'm not crazy about it. So I try my best not to sand or scratch or anything like that, because usually fixing mistakes can cause more problems. So, but you could try sanding it. Like if you were doing a face or something, you could try sanding lightly with a really, really fine soft grit would be kind of my go-to to fix that. So I hope that answers your question, Douglas. And okay. Yes, Valerie, I hope that Heineke is still in business because I just love their products. The 2 soldier wood burnings that I have done that are 18 by 24 inches, I've used wood from them. I actually got some from them around Christmas time, another, I think, 4-pack of 18 by 24s. So I think they were at least in business during the holidays. So I'm staying out of this area right now. You can see I've got ghosting from each side. So I'm going to kind of come over here and work over here for a little bit. And we're just blocking in some of these darker areas. Now I usually like to work from dark to light That's just kind of my preference. It helps me to establish that full range of values, because you've got your darkest darks established, and then of course your lightest value is the basswood itself, which is quite light. Steve, do I ever burn on paper? You know, I tried that one time and I got so frustrated. I thought that it would be faster than burning on wood, and it wasn't. I was really surprised. You know, I did the research, I found the right watercolor paper and all that. I forget what kind you're supposed to use, hot press or cold press, I can't recall right now, but it drove me crazy. I could not get the values that I needed. So no, I have not. In fact, I don't think I even finished that one project that I started, because I was quite frustrated with it and didn't quite have the patience, which is a little bit ironic. But so no, I have not. I don't know if I would. I'm also a little bit skeptical to burn on leather and bone. I think it kind of freaks me out because of the smell, the possible smell. Don't know on that one if I would try those or not. The razor tip would definitely be the one to use on bone, because it gets so hot. I've heard that bone is quite hard to burn on. And I have, you know, different vegetable tanned leather pieces that have been given to me over the years, and I just have not had the courage to try them out yet. So you can see here where I've got these outlines here kind of started. So I have a nice edge right here. It's kind of a, how do I say this? It's a definitive edge between the dark and the light, but it's not a hard edge where I gouged into the wood. So these areas right here, and you can even put your finger there and feel that it's hot. So I would move to a different area and then let that cool down before going in and trying to finish that up. So this is kind of a really in-depth thing on black backgrounds so far, which they're kind of, they're not really difficult, but there's definitely some ways to go about it that makes it a little bit easier, you know, like burning for your hand position, hard edges versus soft edges, depending on what angle you need. Yes, Valerie, definitely slower on paper. Maybe one of these days I'll try to do that again. And Lillian, have I worked on gourds? No, I haven't. I kind of have a black thumb when it comes to plants, so I don't have any, number one. And number two, I don't know, the three-dimensional surface would be kind of definitely a challenge. I've burned on aspen rounds, like the outside of it where it's curved, and that was fun and challenging. But no, I've not done gourds either. So I have quite the list of future projects kind of in mind, but don't really have enough time. And I hope that this video is turning out okay for everybody. I'm shooting with an HD camera, which is way cool because I can finally upload that. All of my tutorials, I'm out of the film. All of my tutorials have been done with an HD camera, but I had to make the files smaller to get them to upload because our internet was so slow. So now that we actually have high-speed internet out in the Tuliwads, I'm really excited to share with you guys some higher quality video. So Valerie says the leather smell isn't bad, but you didn't enjoy it much either. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of maybe stuck in my rut here. But I do love a challenge, so maybe that's something that I'll try and see what we can do. Okay. Steve, you do a lot on paper, yes. It's easy to burn through the paper. I noticed that too. That kind of freaked me out a little bit too. I thought, oi. Okay, so this area here is cooled down a bit. Now, when you're kind of sensing the temperature of the wood, I use kind of the back side of my finger or something because you got oils in your fingers, and if you touch the surface of the wood, you run the risk of seeing your fingerprints for all eternity burned into the wood. Which, again, on something like this isn't a big deal, but if you're doing a portrait and somebody has a big fingerprint on their noggin, that probably is not going to be very cool. Hi, Chris. Okay. NS Mellow Yellow. Okay, Mellow Yellow. Is basswood your favorite wood to burn on? Yes, definitely. The only thing that I've seen that kind of compares to basswood would be aspen, which I have gobs of here in the backyard. It's also a very, very light wood. Alrighty, so we're going to kind of work on blocking in this edge here. So I'm going to turn this, and I'm going to zoom out here for a second and kind of show you guys. So I'm working on an inclined surface, an inclined table, and then I just kind of have this scrap piece of wood that I use to block up my picture. And because it's got a long side and a short side, it kind of just helps to elevate it and change different positions. It makes it just a little bit easier. Okay, so that's the clanking that you hear as I'm moving around. Okay, so I'm trying to not get you guys lost because this is so abstract. So here's our picture, and I turned it this way, and we're still kind of working in that section right there, blocking in this area nicely. Larry, that is great that you guys got some good internet too. We are completely off grid up here in the mountains, and so high-speed internet has been virtually impossible for many, many years. So I'm super excited about it. Love it. Lillian, all my gourding has been in gourds. Oh, gourd burning. Gotcha. Interesting. Shading. So Lillian is saying that shading on gourds is challenging because the gourds have a slick texture. That is really cool. It's something I would not have thought, but it does make sense. I think gourds do have a real shiny surface, so I could see that. That's very interesting. Okay, so we're just kind of working on this area. Now, if you're in a tight spot like this and you're worried about overburn, you're gonna want to move faster and then switch places and let it cool down. Okay, so I'm not going to push that anymore. I'm going to pop over here. So when I burn black backgrounds, I'm really all over the place. I'll burn as much as I can with my right hand, all over, whether it's a portrait or an animal or whatever. I'll burn everything I can from the right hand side, and then I'll turn the wood a quarter turn and repeat and do everything I can from that angle. So you can see right here I'm trying to burn this way, right-handed, and that is a little bit difficult. So this right here is my strong area to work on. If you find that you're like having to crank your hand around to get into tight positions, I would say don't do that because you're probably going to make a mistake. I know I do. So working within your range that you're comfortable with is important as well. That wood burning that I did a couple years ago of the wine and grapes, this is exactly how I did a lot of it. I would burn some of the darkest sections as I could easily and then turn the wood. Thanks, Valerie. You have a great night too. Thank you so much for joining. Okay. All right, I'm going to pop back over here and we're going to work on this section. Kind of fill it in. Now I am burning quite a bit faster than I normally would, just to kind of move things along here, because I know that it just takes time. Hi Steve, am I still having bear problems? Yes, but fortunately not lately because of the winter. So we have another month and a half until bear season starts. And then I start doing crazy things and chasing bears through the yard. Because they like to try to get in the house and otherwise cause a nuisance in the springtime. It's, you know, they can show up at any time, but usually right after the snow melts is when they're the worst. They're all cranky and hungry, and they start going and looking for things that they shouldn't. Okay. So yeah, we have new neighbors up here now, and they're not too sure about the bear stories that I've been telling them. Try not to make them worried or scared, but you know, the main thing is just being alert and aware, and having guns helps. It's always helpful. I always carry when I'm out walking or doing much outside. Okay. So we have a good start to this black background here, so we can actually start into some of the flames in this section. So again, this is going to be kind of fun. I'm going to start with the next darkest values. So let me just try to make sure that I'm not going to run you guys out of the picture here. Okay, we're going to go down just a smidge. Okay. Okay, so one thing when burning, one of the coolest things that I love is the ability to push and pull certain things in a burning by lights and darks. Hi Larry, where do I find my beanbag? This little guy here I got with a computer keyboard kit, probably 20 years ago. It's getting a little bit worn, and I'm afraid it's just gonna pop one of these days, and I'm gonna have to find a new one. So you can probably also take like a sock and fill it with rice, and just kind of close it up with something soft like a rubber band or something. Would probably give you a similar structure to work on. But I just kind of fold it up underneath my hand to prop it up so it's not such an extreme angle. But a sock full of rice would probably be the best next subject possibility. And I apologize if I do sound kind of out to lunch. I'm sure you guys understand that when you're wood burning or doing any kind of art, you're accessing a different part of your brain. And so it's easy to kind of zone out and stay in that art zone, and then to switch over and talk and explain at the same time is a little bit of a challenge. Lillian, are you using a special glove? I have had a lot of people ask me this over the years. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and show you guys here. So yeah, this is the beanbag. Like I said, it's pretty floppy. It's lost a lot of, I don't know, I guess it's stretched out over the years. So a lot of times I'll kind of fold it over and make a little sandwich and then rest my hand on it. The glove I'm using is, I got it, I think when I first started wood burning in 2009. This is just a simple gardening glove. I actually have, so here's the original, the left hand, which I never use, but it's just a simple gardening glove is all it is. I wear it mostly to prevent against accidental burns. You can see there's some burn marks here and there. I've had times where I've, you know, dropped the burner, or it shifted, or I grabbed the wrong part of it, something like that. And it's just mostly to protect against accidental burns. It doesn't help a whole lot with heat, which is kind of frustrating. But the biggest thing that I've found to help with the heat on your hand is to work on an inclined surface. Let me see if I can kind of show you an example from... Okay, so if you're working... Let's go. Okay. Everything's at an angle here. So if you're working flat on the wood like this, all that heat is going to get trapped underneath your hand and come up underneath your hand. So by switching to, again, here we go, more of an inclined surface like this, the heat is now able to go straight up and kind of up and away from your hand. So that's one of the best things that I have found to fight that heat, is working on an elevated surface. Now, if you have an inclined desk, that's awesome. Or you can just stack up some books, whatever you need to do to get that heat up and away from your hand. Okay. So Dances with Aardvarks says that he was looking for a flame tutorial a couple weeks ago. And so we wound up using some airbrush videos. Yes. Many years ago, about 20 years ago, I was going to get into airbrushing. Turns out the mixing and the measuring is kind of not really up my alley, so I wound up not doing that. Okay, but cool artwork. So some of these lines in here are just a little bit darker than I would like before I burn. So I'm going to take a little sanding pad, and these were from 3MW, and they're just real soft and flexible, and they've got one side with really fine grit sandpaper, and the other one is just kind of a fluffy thing to, I think, to hold it into place. They don't make these anymore. It drives me crazy, and so I still have just a few left over, and I cut them into little strips. But any kind of a soft sandpaper, fine sandpaper as well, it'd be nice if it had like a soft and flexible surface, because even fine sandpaper, if it has a rough backing, I find it can kind of scratch the surface of the wood. Now when I'm sanding here, I'm going to try to stay out of the areas that I've already burned, again, because if I burn over, or if I sand over those, it just changes the look of the wood, and you may have to reburn it again. It won't always tie in and look identical to the stuff that has not been sanded. But, you know, from a distance it probably would be fine and you wouldn't notice it. Just something I've kind of noticed over the years. Okay. Alrighty, so we're going to work on the next darkest values. So I'm still on high heat, and I'm just going to kind of vary my strokes. I'm going to move my burner faster, so let's see, I'm doing multiple smaller sections, multiple smaller strokes in here. So I can still get some overburn there, so I'm going to jump over to a different spot. Lillian, what about an eraser? You know, I've tried using erasers, and it seems to kind of like smudge the, it just kind of smudges and makes a smudgy mark, and I don't think it doesn't work very well for me. So I tend to just continue to use that soft sanding paper. Okay, so this is getting a little bit uncontrollable. So if you see, you can see I'm going to turn the burner down, because you can see the strokes right here. I'm having a harder time blending smoothly. So let's see here. We're going to turn it down. Usually, we can see that it's right where the red meets the orange is probably where I'm going to do. So this is a good temperature that I found for kind of a mid-range shading. If I'm going to do portraits with really fine skin, I will go a little bit lower than that. But this should work. And then we can blow on the point. to help it to kind of cool down a little bit. Okay, and so I'm still just using that back and forth motion. Now, if you do get streaks in here where you can see your strokes, you can just kind of go back over that and add another layer with a lower temperature, and it's going to be a little bit more controllable. So just back and forth, keeping your strokes kind of tighter together, you know, like fingers, like strokes are tight together instead of spaced out. That helps as well. And so you just kind of play with these abstract shapes here. Okay, so now we're going to go back and moving the point just a little bit slower. I'm going to start building up some darker values down here. And then we blend it up. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of that ghosting, so I'm going to jump over to a different section here. Okay, I think a little while ago I was saying about how fun it is to kind of push and pull certain aspects within a wood burning by value. In this instance, you'll notice that anything that is up close and is closer to the viewer, it's going to be lighter in appearance, whereas the darker values will push away from the viewer. A lot of times I'll notice with landscape wood burnings, if your landscapes look a little bit flat, it's probably because you're using too many of the same midtones. So again, with a subject that's right in front of you, like a still life, the lighter areas are going to pull towards the viewer and the darker ones are going to push away. So if you want that sense of depth, it's good to really push those dark values. I hope that makes sense. So I'm kind of just working around some of the lighter areas. And I'm going to come back and we're going to darken up this guy here a little bit. Okay, Karen asks, are there advantages or disadvantages to going with or against the grain of the wood? That is a great question. Yes, I find that, especially when blocking in large sections of black background, it is helpful to go with the grain. A long time ago, let me zoom out here a little bit. Nope, wrong way. This thing's okay. Long time ago, I used to shade my black backgrounds in rows like this, and then again and again. Problem with that is it was denting the wood just a little bit. I was getting impatient, and so there were these rows that I couldn't quite blend together. So now when I'm going to do, like when we block in this black background, I won't just go, you know, let me see, in rows this way. I will start here and I will come all the way down in long strips. It's much easier to kind of tie that together and blend that together than going in rows against the grain. So I hope that helps. Let's see. Whenever you're working with something with strong grain like pine, that can be kind of a nightmare to go against the grain, especially if you're pushing down hard with pine or anything else with a strong grain. Your burner is going to kind of dig in to those soft sections of the grain and then bounce back up. So you're going to wind up with some really irregular lines if you press hard. So you always want to kind of just float the burner across the surface of the wood. So I hope that helps explain that. But yes, going with the grain is helpful, especially with doing black backgrounds or working with different types of wood. Generally just shading, I suppose I usually just kind of do like a 45-degree angle kind of works pretty well for me. Yes, Karen, I do not like working with pine either. I know there's some amazing artists out there that do wonderful, wonderful work with pine, but that's not really my cup of tea. And you know, I've got asthma and I burn in the house, so I really kind of avoid pine. The only time that I'll use a respirator is when I'm burning really large sections of dark black backgrounds. It just kind of bothers me a little bit. Other than that, I don't usually wear a respirator. Okay, so we're going to jump over here into this light section and we're going to create a nice dark triangle-ish shape here. And we're going to push those darks. Ooh, there's something on the wood. It's kind of odd. There's a dark spot there. So, hi Angela. Glad you could make it. Yes, Larry. I like the way that you can see the grain as well. It's really interesting. Although I will say when I'm burning something that I want to be really smooth, it can be a little bit frustrating because I'll like a face or something, and then you have these big stripes across the face. Sometimes I'll burn in between the grain to try to even that out, and that does work a little bit, but it's a lot of work, especially if you have tiny little rings. Okay, so hopefully you can kind of see a little bit here of these flames showing up. Steve, have I ever burned on gun stocks or guitars? No, I haven't. I have had some people interested in that over the years. The main thing that I'm kind of leery of is stripping the wood, stripping the varnish off of the gun stocks. I'm totally self-taught, and you know, with my history of asthma and all that, I'm pretty, I don't know, not really crazy about trying some of these newer things that do pose a bit of a health risk. Again, I burn in the house and I got kids, so I'm not sure how you would strip those. If you would need like a solvent, which kind of, again, makes me a little bit leery because I don't want to burn over a solvent either, or sanding it. And then my question would be, how far down do you need to sand it? How far down does that stain that was previously applied, how far does that penetrate into the wood fibers? I don't know. And because I don't know, I just kind of play it a little bit safer, and I haven't yet. I think it'd be really cool. My mom is an avid hunter. She used to guide elk hunting. You know, she's killed bears and turkeys and all that, and put food on the table for a long time, and so did my dad. And I know the gun stock thing would be way cool, but I have not done that yet, and I guess that's kind of why. So I hope that answers your question. Angela, yes, I really hope that these live streams will be of value to you guys and more immediate. The tutorials take so long. If I burn a 10-hour tutorial, it takes me at least 20 hours to process the footage. So that's why I've not been getting the tutorials out like I really wanted to. Okay, so we've done kind of some of our darker values here. I would like to push this area and this area a little bit darker, but since we turned our burner down, it's a little bit time consuming and it won't burn. So we're going to jump around and do some of the other flames here. I'm going to zoom out just a tiny bit. Out goes this way. Okay, there we go. Hi, Brad. Glad you could join us. Okay, so I am going to turn this just a little bit, and you can't see. Okay, there we are. And I'm just going to kind of clean up this little edge here. Now, if you see me kind of wiping the wood, there's little tiny fuzz balls or fibers or something that gets on the wood. I have a feeling it might be from my blue glove, because when I burn over the top of them, it stains the wood blue, which really annoys me. Normally I can just kind of hide it, but again, if you're doing a portrait, you don't want, you know, some cute little baby to have a blue spot on their face. So that's why I can see those before I burn them, so I try to get rid of them. Okay, so we've got this guy kind of blocked in there. Okay, I'm going to turn it back this way, and we're going to prop him up. Okay, zooming in. Okay, and I have experimented with so many different setups, you guys, to try to make this kind of the best that I can for you guys and be able to adjust the camera and zoom in and zoom out and all that. So I hope this is working out okay for everybody. Burn on blonde rosewood, which is commonly used in guitars. Wow, blonde rosewood. I don't think I've ever even heard of that. That sounds pretty interesting. Okay, so we're on kind of a mid-heat setting. I'm going to burn the next level up. So, you know, I start with my darks, and then I try to put in my darker midtones, and then my midtones, and then my light midtones, and my lights. So for this, I'm going to go over everything really quickly. So again, you want that airplane mode. Really just light here and there, land and take off. Thank you, Brad. That's great. I'm glad that the video and the sound are good. On one of my test runs, I had like a triple echo, so I figured out what that was and was able to stop that. And another time, my camera turned off, so a few bumps along the way, but I'm glad everything's working well for you guys. Thank you, Larry. I'm glad you can see some fire in there. That's great. Stepping back from your work once in a while is really important. Can kind of help you see where areas might be too light or too dark. Hi, Clark. Oh, yes, that's right. I did sell my airbrush setup. That's great. That is so cool. Yep, it's been so long I forgot I even sold it, but you're right. That's so cool. So Clark bought my airbrush. That's way cool. Yes, so glad to be able to give you guys some better quality stuff. And if I do have any buffering or something, go ahead and let me know if you see any of that. I'm trying to Woodburn, keep an eye on the camera, watch the live stream, and respond to chat. So it's a little bit of multitasking. So if it does blip out, everybody just leave a note and I'll try to fix it. Okay, so we've got in this section here a nice light value, and we're going to start pushing to make these flames look a little bit deeper by going darker. And then we're going to add some more midtones across here. Okay, now to help blend this into the black background, this is where we did not want those hard edges. We're going to keep everything nice and soft. So I'm kind of blowing on the point here a little bit to help make some finer adjustments. So this is going to recede a little bit into the background. Brad, what heat setting am I on? And am I staying on that setting between the values? Okay, so when we first started doing the black background, there's the white line, I was on max heat. After we blocked in the black background, I dropped it down to where the orange meets the red. A little buffering. Okay, thank you, Angela. So is it I guess, is my burner, my hand just moving kind of herky-jerky, or is it stopping altogether? I'm not sure if I can really control that, but I will see what I can do. Donald, do I feel that I have more control burning at a high temp rather than burning at a cooler temp? It depends on what I'm trying to do and how patient I am at the time. Most of the time I have it on high heat, on max heat. That's kind of my operating zone. And I usually just either blow on the point to cool it down or move the burner faster to adjust for the lighter values. Sometimes when, like right here, we're working in these itty bitty tiny sections and I need some more control, then yes, turning that down definitely creates a smoother surface. You're welcome, Brad. But yeah, for portraits, you're gonna want to, I really suggest turning that down, because if you make a mistake and you get like, a stop spot, you know, those guys right there, if you get a stop spot or something on the person's face because you were operating at too high of a temperature, it can really be difficult to fix that. Okay, so let's kind of come up here a little bit. Thank you. Yes, blowing on the tip definitely helps. So how is everybody doing? It looks like we've been at this for about an hour. Do you want to keep going for a little bit, or how are we doing? So you are, Douglas, you are seeing the spinner thing. Okay, just a few seconds now and again. Haha, the hamster's running the internet in Tennessee. I love that. Yeah, we had hamsters running our internet here for a long time. And it could be, I'll look into that and see why it's buffering. It could be just because this is an HD camera and I may have to adjust some settings or something to kind of work on that. Okay, Angela, thank you. Okay, so keep going. I've got a couple people, Faye and Larry, say keep going. Okay. Awesome. Okay, well, we'll just keep on trucking here. And I hope some of those sections are a little bit hard to get to. Keep going. Okay, cool. All right. So, and this right here is some of my favorite things to do is the shading and the blending. I just really enjoy that. Brad, yes, I am on Starlink. We had HughesNet, and then we had Viasat, and now we have Starlink. Sorry, I'm trying to read messages here at the same time. Okay, keep going. Clark, I wish... Wow, that'd be really cool, Clark. You can go ahead and send me an email or a messenger if you want to share some of that artwork over the years. That's way cool. My brother has recently got into chainsaw carving, and it's awesome. Way cool. The whole 3D thing kind of blows my mind a little bit, and I have a hard time with that, but that's way cool. No buffering. Nice. Thank you, Dawn. I'm glad this is one of the better ones that you've seen. Okay, bring on the popcorn. Okay, keep going. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to try to zoom in. In is that way. Okay, let me readjust this here for a little bit. So one of the coolest things that I love is, like I said, the shading, but also kind of blending one thing into another. Like we're gonna take this big lumpy foot on a fish kind of a thing right here, and we're gonna blend it into the background to where it just is gonna disappear into the background. So I'm kind of cranked a little bit over here. Hopefully that's not a problem. And I'm gonna add a little bit here. Okay, so it sounds like the buffering is minimal. That is awesome. Awesome, awesome. Okay. Alrighty. So I have kind of the lighter areas defined here. This section here is going to be really quite light. Now we're going to push these values here along this edge, and we're going to push them darker until they kind of blend into that background. Yes, Brad, this is basswood. So just keep doing that back and forth airplane motion mode. And I hope that's still in focus. I did a manual spot focus, so my camera won't keep focusing on my hand. So if it does look blurry or something, give me a shout and I'll see if I can fix that. Okay, so we're just gonna softly shade this and push it back away from the viewer. You're welcome, Brad. We're gonna push it back a little bit like that, so it looks like it's coming out of the darkness. Again, this is fire is way cool because it is so abstract. This is I think the second time I have burned flames, and the first ones were like, oh, just like that tall. So I've not tried flames this big before, so this is fun. And we're definitely, I think, still in the ugly duckling stage, but that's okay. We'll just keep working forward here. Also, something that I was going to ask you guys about is kind of a future schedule for more live streams. I was kind of thinking about maybe once a week, if that would work good for everybody. So go ahead and let me know. Does this time work okay for you guys? I know we have some people on the East Coast and it's getting a little bit later. And if Fridays work best, if that's okay, or if I should move the time up a little bit, just go ahead and give me some feedback on that as well. Okay, so you can see this is kind of pushing back a little bit, and we're going to do the same thing with this guy here. He has just a little bit that we're going to push back. Great day, great time. Okay. Same time? Cool. A little bit later for Karen. Karen, are you on the, I guess, the West Coast? Just wondering. Oh, in the UK. Wow. That's way cool. Cool. Cool, cool. Okay, so we got some lighter sections here. Now, even though we have light areas in this project, there is, I think, only one tiny section of like bright white, and that would be like right in here. So most everything else is going to have some level of shading to it. Come back. This piece of wood is kind of rounded at the bottom and it keeps trying to run away. West Coast. Okay, that's what I wondered. Okay. Thank you, Karen. Okay. That's very true, Brad. Very true. Sometimes you just have to claim your space, claim your time. Okay. I have a pretty flexible schedule. Wednesdays are booked for me, and Tuesdays will be booked in the summertime. But other than that, I'm pretty flexible. So as long as you guys can join in when it's best. And again, you know, if you didn't miss, if you did miss some of this, if you weren't able to watch all of it, it will be posted on Patreon all the time. So you'll be able to go back and see all of the, well, this is the first one, but as we do more live streams, you'll be able to go back and see all of them at any time. Cool. Thank you, Steve. Cool. Okay, thank you, Lori. Alrighty, so we're gonna blow on the point. And just kind of shade all this stuff here. Because all of this that's left is gonna have a light mid-tone value. The brightest part's gonna be kind of down here, but he is running away. He still has a little bit of shading. So for lighter shading, take broader strokes. You can see I'm just going right over the top of everything. I'm not gonna irritate these darker shades by doing a light stroke over the top of them. So we'll just go for it. That's another reason I like to work from dark to light. Okay. West Coast. Okay. Lori, is Patreon something we have to pay for? Yes. It's a monthly thing, or you can sign up. I think you can do a year in advance now. It used to be $10 a month, but that's when I was doing the full length heavy duty tutorials. Now those tutorials are still on there, but I've dropped the price down to $5 a month because I'm just not as productive as I would like to be. I want to make sure that you guys get a good bang for the buck and that you feel it's worth your $5 a month. So yes, right now it's just $5 a month. I think you can save a little bit if you do the yearly option, but Patreon is a way that I can help kind of, help pay the bills and be able to make more videos for you guys, because that Patreon, the funding from Patreon is what has allowed me to get the equipment to do these live streams and to get a better setup and all that. So that's kind of where that money goes. Evening slot. Okay. Good. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Brad, for sharing my book. That's awesome. Awesome. Okay. So my hope for the future is to create a really big library of live streams that will reside on Patreon so that people can access that stuff at any time. And I've kind of gone back and forth as far as whether to just offer the full-length tutorials through my website, since they are significantly more time intensive, or to keep just putting those on Patreon for the $5 a month. I mean, that's a crazy good value for you guys, and I think I'm probably going to keep that for now and just get as much information out to everybody as I can. That's another reason. Oh geez, am I out of the film? Yell at me if I'm burning and you can't see me. Sorry about that. But that's why this live stream is hosted live on YouTube, so that more people can access it. I know that everybody is having some financial troubles right now with gas prices and all that crazy business. So I'm trying to help as many people as I can, but still be able to afford stuff like this for you guys. Okay. So you can see our flame is starting to kind of take shape. Sometimes it helps to get back a little bit. We're going to add a little bit more shading here. And thank you, Angela and Larry. You guys have been huge, huge supporters, as well as many other people on Patreon and with my art. And you guys are hugely appreciated. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your input. Okay. So we're going to kind of blend this guy in here a little bit more. When I'm transitioning and shading from a dark area to a light area, I will usually just go one way and then lift, and one way and then lift. That helps me to avoid any accidental stop spots or heat spots when I change course, if that makes sense. So I would just continue to pull it this way and lift, pull and lift, instead of running the risk of, you know, getting a dark spot on that side. So that's one way to do those gradual transitions. Hopefully you can see, is just a slide and lift like that. So that's great for faces and stuff like that. Thank you for joining us, Brad. I hope you have a great week too. And you're welcome, Lori. I've really, you know, thought a lot about how best to serve you guys on Patreon, and anyway, this is kind of where I'm at for now. So I hope to have more inventory for everybody as time goes on. Thank you, Misty. I'm glad that they are helpful. That's wonderful to hear. Okay, so here's kind of a little wispy guy here. He's kind of fun. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna zoom out just a little bit and see if we can't get, or I'm just gonna shift over. Okay, there we go. So let's take a step back for a second and kind of see how, yeah, that's turning out pretty fun. Okay, I might soften this up as we continue to work up, but again, very abstract, just funky shapes and shading is all this is. So a lot of fun. Once a week videos would be great for Terry. Awesome. Cool. Cool. Oh, clack. Okay, well, hopefully I will. Thanks, Dances with Aardvarks. I love that name. That is so fun. Okay, I'm going to zoom back in here for the upper part. I think I'm getting my zoom figured out, so that's good. Okay. So, okay. So this clunky controller for the temperature is always a pain. I fight it all the time. I bet you guys do too. Okay, so we're gonna kind of add a darker section here. Thank you, Becky. I hope you have a great night. Thank you, Karen. Yes, moving is never fun. My goodness. There for many years, we moved like every 2.5 years. It was not fun. Okay. I will definitely choose a different shaped piece of wood next time because this guy is wanting to move all the time. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of work up in this little area here. Again, being right-handed, I can sneak into here and not cause overburn too bad. Now there's a tiny section here, so I'm turning the burner almost straight up and down and trying not to wiggle to get that in there. That would be better if I turned the wood, but he's so tiny. We'll just kind of do the best we can. Larry, did I say slide and lift is for blending? That's especially for blending smaller areas where you have one transition from dark to light. That slide and lift can be helpful, like this. If you're doing bigger expanses of shading, there he moves again. If you're doing bigger expanses of shading, I would do slide, lift, slide, lift, slide, lift. Just back and forth and back and forth. It's a little bit faster than if I were to just go one way all the time. So you can see I'm getting my strokes far apart there because I'm looking at the screen and not the wood burning. Okay, but I can kind of blend that back and forth. But yeah, slide and lift is really kind of how I do most of my burning. Angela, that is so fantastic. That is really, really cool. I'm glad that you're willing to do more and be more confident with this. And experimental. I love experimenting. I love doing new things, except for maybe burning on stinky things like wood and leather. But, you know, mixed media, I love it. I have combined, I think, most every couple of medias that I can with wood burning. You know, colored pencil, oil paints, watercolors, acrylic paint, alcohol inks. I've not done graphite pencil yet, but it is on my list. So that's fantastic, Angela. I'm so glad that that's working out well for you. Okay. Yes, Misty, we can switch over and do the smooth dark background here in just a bit. We're about done with this little section here, and then we can switch over and do that as well. That is often time consuming, as I'm sure you guys know, and so I didn't want, you know, the first hour just to be solid black. I wanted to give you guys a little bit more of a picture as far as how the flames are going to look. So I think we have one little section here, okay, and we'll just kind of keep working on it, and we're going to push this sky back. Now this is where that overburn is not going to be so critical because we have some shading in place to kind of, I don't know, hide it, balance it out, whatever. It's not that big of a critical thing. Have I ever used Day Glow paints? Steve, no, I haven't. You may have to send me some more information on Day Glow paints. You're welcome, Misty. Okay. And if you hear heavy breathing, that is not me. That is my dog. She always sleeps under my feet. So, okay, we're gonna take care of this little white thing here. Back and forth shading, give it kind of a level 1. And then we're gonna push this section darker and blend this in as well. Okay, I'm going to add just a little bit here, and then we'll kind of switch over and work on some of that black background. All right, let me park that. Let's zoom out. Yay, I went the right way. Okay, so we definitely have a good start to this. A lot of times what I will do is exactly what we've done on the whole picture, and then take a step back and really look and see what areas need to be pushed back. You know, push those values darker, make them recede from the viewer. That's going to really make the depth there. It's going to make that depth pop. So we'll just kind of keep going like we have been, and then at the very end we'll reassess. Another thing that I was going to ask you guys is, if we do a weekly live stream, do you want to finish this project next week? Or I don't know if we can finish it, but work more on this project next week, or do you want to switch over to a different one? Kind of go ahead and leave some comments down below and let me know if you want to stick with the same thing until it's finished, or if you want to jump around between different subjects. So go ahead and let me know on that. Okay. Ha, Sarge. That's a great name for a miniature poodle. I love it. Yes, Terry, I know everything is so tight right now. It's just really crazy financially. Okay. It's, yeah, really, really crazy. Okay. So hopefully you can see, I turned the flames. They're so abstract, you kind of got to watch. We're turning them upside down, and I'm going to burn along this edge here and kind of darken that up. And if my hands are a little bit shaky, I apologize. I spent hours moving stuff, heavy stuff, and so my arms are just really fatigued. But that's okay. I got 5 miles of back and forth in today, so that's good. Okay. Both ideas are beneficial. Okay, thank you, Lori. That's very good. Karen, seeing it finished would be helpful. Okay, cool. Stay on the project. Okay. Well, that definitely frees me up because I feel so rushed. Oh, so silly me. We forgot to turn up the burner. Haha, I do that all the time. At least I didn't try to burn and it was off. I've done that a lot. Okay, so we're maxed out there. We're going to secure that again. And it's going to take a few minutes for that to kind of heat up. So in the meantime, we can work on some other, some other areas here while we're upside down. Okay, different subjects. Faye, okay. Okay, thank you, Clark. Week. Okay. Cool. All right, thank you everybody for your feedback on that. It looks like kind of the consensus is to go ahead and finish this up. And that's kind of fun because then you can burn along with me if you want. So I turned up the heat, so we're back on max setting, and I'm just kind of cleaning up some things from the other side, you know, from the left-hand side, right side now. And another thing that's pretty cool about my new camera setup is I should be able to teach you guys more complicated subjects. I know when I did the wine and grape scene a couple years ago, I couldn't film that because I get so close to the wood when I'm working that all you would see is the back of my head. So I have a new system, a new setup right now, so I can keep track of the camera and zoom in for you guys. So I'm excited to show you some more complicated things. Larry, that's a good question. Finishing the whole thing would take several hours. Well, you can see what we've accomplished, and it's about an hour and a half so far. So yes, we might just try another week and see how that goes and see where people are at and if they want to continue. So we could try that too. Lillian has the razor tip. Yes, I think it would be fun to show you guys other burners as well. All right, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more here and scooch this guy over. Okay. And not catch my paper on fire. Okay. All right, so we have a nice wide buffer here so far on this edge. I'm going to make it just a little bit more. Now I'm using maybe the upper third of this point. And because it is skinny, you got to really be careful to just float that burner across the wood. Do not push down hard. When I first started burning, I was very impatient with these and I pushed way too hard and I created a banana out of my shading point. And I caused denting in the wood as well, and it was a little bit of a mess. So just make sure that you float that burner and always keep it moving. If you stop and stay there too long, the wood fibers can kind of like stick to the bottom of the burner, and then you move forward and it tears the wood, and then you get more carbon buildup on the bottom too. Okay, that's a good option too, Steve. We could work more on this during the week and then leave enough to finish next week. I've thought about that as well. Finish the one side to get a better view. Yes, I mean, we could do that too. Cool. Okay, so yeah, maybe what we'll do is let's do one more burn session with the flames, and then at the end of that we'll kind of let you guys decide if you want to continue on with that or if you think you kind of have the idea of it. Another thing that I could do is do all of the black background and block that in first, and then just focus on the flames. Okay. Alrighty, I'm going to zoom out a wee bit. So once I get this nice wide buffer here, I will switch this around and use the heel of the point. So there's several different stages of the black background that I do that has just kind of worked well for me over the years. Oh, now we're out of the thingy again. Okay. Alrighty. So to kind of recap, yes, I have done complete projects with the razor tip, Karen. It's I don't know. I started using this shading point, and I guess I'm kind of more comfortable with it. Okay. So again, for the black backgrounds, to kind of recap. I got stuff on there. Okay. So the first thing you're going to want to do is that outline. And you don't have to go solid black at that first time. That's okay. You can come back and do another pass. And just go slower. Float the burner on top of the wood. Do not gouge in. Hold a flat angle so that you don't indent and kind of dig into the wood like a farmer's plow would do. Then after you get that initial line, you'll go back over it and make that wider. Now this is given that there's no complicated things. If you're just doing a solid, it's going to be just black background all the way to the tuliwads, then this is that, that method. Thank you, Terry. A torch. Lori is asking about a torch for the black background. Again, I have a torch. I have the wood. I have not had time to try it yet. I don't know. I think that'd be way cool. I don't like the idea of the lack of control with the torch. So I don't know. And if you did kind of outline like this with the burner and then torch the background, that's an option. But I have a feeling you would not be able to marry and merge those two areas together, because this is burnishing the wood and the torch would not. So when you hit this wood with a wood burner, it gets more shiny, and a torch would be a very dull surface. So I'm not sure if that kind of makes sense. So you would probably still see a difference between it. Now, how you protect your main subject against the heat of the torch, I don't know. Again, something that I've been wanting to try. I've heard people do something with like tin foil to protect it, but I don't know. Okay, very good question. That would be fun to do. Okay, torch. Okay, so we did our initial line with a soft edge, and then we made it wider, and then we made it wider again. And now, that is all very time consuming, but I think it's a very important step. Now when it comes time to just doing the black background, you would want to use the heel of the point. Sorry, the heel of the wood burning point. So let me see if I can see this. Okay, so you can see I've got a little bit of carbon buildup on the upper tip there. I know it's a little out of focus, but that's mostly what I've been wood burning, is that upper part of the tip. Now we're going to switch, and I'm going to focus the majority of my my stroke and everything here back on the heel, back on this part. So the upper tip is almost going to kind of float a little bit, and we're just going to be focusing on this. It's directly in line with the burner, and it's supported, so you can press a little bit harder during this stage. If you press too hard, you're going to dent the wood. But anyway, okay, so I have found that I work best from left to right in this section. So we lay the point flat on the wood, go back and forth, and I still do the airplane mode. Douglas, you tried the torch. Okay. A dull black. That's kind of what I was thinking as well, is that it's probably going to be a very dull. Okay, so this covers a lot of area more quickly. So the blocking in takes a lot of time. And then you can kind of just sneak in closer and closer and closer to this buffer. Now the reason I make such a wide buffer is because this heel method here is a little bit unpredictable. You got to hold it just right. If you rock it one way or another like a boat from side to side, you can kind of gouge the wood a little bit. And this is a really easy way to get overburn on your subject because there's so much heat involved with the heel of that burner. But then you would just blend it in like that. So let me see, let me readjust this to give you a better view. And you know what we could do is turn it upside down and we could work on this edge here. And I'll show you what happens if you don't make this buffer wider. So we made that buffer on the other side really wide. Let's work on this side that's not as thick. And I'll kind of show you what happens. I would make that line wider if possible, but we're just going to kind of show you some more of the black. Okay. Now another thing we want to remember is there is a little thing down here that we don't want to run over and burn. Okay, so he's just right there. We'll just kind of block him in so he's not. Okay, all right, so again we're focusing on the heel of the point. Now I like to work again from left to right because it produces more of a line here. If you go from right to left, it's kind of broader, and I feel like I don't get a darker black. So again, focusing on the heel, back and forth, lifting and setting down each time like that airplane mode, and just go slow and steady. Wow, Clark, that sounds really cool. Almost like a, yeah, that sounds really cool. Okay. And so you just start working closer and closer to your subject. And again, this is where working in these longer strips helps, I think, make a more seamless transition than doing rows. Rows can be kind of fun because you can kind of block in that area a little bit faster, sometimes it seems, with these long strips seem to work a little bit better than some of the other methods that I've tried. But just nice and slow. And on the camera, it looks really, really nice and dark. It's actually a little bit more of a darker brown. So if you can't get it absolutely positively black, that's okay. Sometimes the different lighting, it will look darker in different lighting. Currently, all I see is a giant glare. So I'm just kind of almost burning by braille right here because I've got a big light above me. Okay, but hopefully this gives you an idea of the black backgrounds. Now, this going from left to right, again, because I'm right-handed. If you were left-handed, you would go the other way. Keeps this nice edge right here, so I see where I'm at. If I'm careful, I can probably blend that background in to my buffer line. As long as I don't stay there too long, because the heat's going to continue to move over even after you leave that area. So now, if that's a section where it's going to be shaded anyway, it doesn't really matter if you get overburn. Cool, thank you, Clark. Yeah, I'd like to see that. Okay, now the unfortunate side effect of our black backgrounds is our carbon buildup on the point. Basswood is not nearly as bad as other ones, but if I have a large subject that is mostly black background, I can spend, I've spent 10 hours on a black background on certain pieces, and it's huge. And using just one burner like this, it will gunk up and it cools down and it's frustrating. So I usually run 3 of these wood burners when I'm doing a really big and expansive black background. I will run 3 burners at the same time. And I will use one until it feels like it's just not burning. Kind of like right now, you have to move the burner slower to get the same dark value, and it just slows me down. So I will set it off to the side, and I've got like a little kind of a thing that keeps them secured so they don't go flying and fall off on the floor. And I'll put the first one down, pick up the second one, burn as long as I can, and then put it down and then burn with the third one. And by the time I'm done with that third one, the first one is heated back up nicely, and a lot of that carbon just kind of burns off on its own, which is really cool, because I don't like scratching or sanding or scraping off that graphite, the carbon buildup, sorry, because you can put micro scratches in your point, and then when you go back over it to wood burn, you wind up leaving gouges in the surface of the wood. So I would strongly suggest that you don't scrape or sand unless it's, you've got so much on there it doesn't really come off. So in that case, I would use something similar to this, turn off the burner, let it cool way down and stone cold, and then just gently use a very soft sanding pad. So I hope that makes sense there. Okay, so any little sections here that I didn't burn very well with the black background, we're going to turn you over and we'll just get them with the upper point. Okay, so how's everybody doing? Are we kind of hanging in here? I was thinking maybe go another 20 minutes and do like a 2-hour video. What do you guys think? Does a 2-hour video sound good to everybody? Now after burning this dark area, it has really pulled out a lot of the heat out of my burner. So I'm going to just go real slow here and blend this into the background and kind of let it cool back up. Okay, Dawn. Okay, and that was okay. Yep. It's totally okay to start over. That's how we learn. A lot of times, even if you do make a mistake or have a problem, sometimes it's beneficial to work, to keep going and to work through it. As long as you can kind of layer, there's a lot of mistakes that you can kind of hide by layering over previous layers. You can smooth things out, you can even things out, you can add more texture. Okay, 2 hours, good. Okay, how am I doing? That's very sweet, Angela. I am doing okay. I've not burned for 2 hours in quite a while because I've been doing a lot of other things. We got homeschool and but no, I'm good. My hand is doing just fine. The kids are having fun. The older ones are taking care of the little one. 2 hours. Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking. An hour is a little bit short. I mean, you just barely start into I'm out of the footage again. You guys yell at me if I'm out of the frame. All right, we're going to drop down here a little bit. Hey, that's kind of starting to look like some fire there. That's cool. Alrighty. Woodburn and sip and talk on hot cocoa. That sounds lovely. Yep. Well, and this is a real opportunity for me to get some good feedback. I'm trying to hold this thing in place and not put my fingers on it, so sorry about that. This is a really good opportunity for me to get direct feedback from you guys and to see what works best for you, and if you have questions on a certain thing, we can just kind of stop and go over it. So I just can't tell you guys how excited I am for this opportunity to do live streams. Something that I wanted to do for a very, very long time. It wasn't possible. So now with Starlink, it is possible. You guys heard the kids in the background? Yeah, okay. I just don't have a way around that. Our house is still kind of in progress of being finished out. We have an unfinished basement, and we were gonna put bedrooms downstairs for my 2 teenage boys, and with health challenges with my husband and all that, we just haven't made the progress on that because we're doing it ourselves. And so I did have my studio in an actual room, and I gave that up so each of my boys could have their own room, because apparently teenager boys, they are not bunking together anymore. So that's totally fine. So I am in the living room, and I've kind of pulled furniture around to make like a little walled off area, but I'm right outside the kitchen, so there's some sounds. And then another thing that I've been working on lately is getting an auxiliary studio kind of set up in our unfinished basement, because I need to be able to clear coat and do some of those other alcohol inks. That's what's holding up on the turtle, the turtle project that I'm working on. I just added colored pencil to that and filmed that. And a lot of my moving today, I got the downstairs kind of prepped. So I will be doing clear coating on that turtle this weekend, and then ink like early next week. So the color video for the turtle is getting close now that I have some of these other roadblocks kind of taken care of. Okay. So I'm kind of rushing this here, and it's not quite as dark as it should be, but that's okay. Okay. So, something that I might do is maybe we'll take these last few minutes here, and we'll kind of outline the flames. Okay. So I'm just gonna make sure I know where I'm at. Okay. And you guys can see. All right, so I'm just going to kind of do a lighter outline around the rest of the flames. It helps to get a bigger picture, I think, to see what our subject is and what's left to go. So I'll do this kind of quickly, but it'll help everybody to kind of see the overall shape a little bit more, I think. You too, Angela? Oh yes, I think I am more than half of our small living room I have taken up. The other side has a couch and a TV because, when my husband's home, we kind of do maybe an episode or something. We just do movies. We don't have TV. And we'll just sit back and take a break because he's worked all day and he doesn't have a whole lot of get up and go at that point. So we just do a little family movie time. Very. Okay, so Larry's asking if there's a camo effect on a military uniform, would you just color that effect with pencils, or would you burn the camo pattern? That's exactly what I'm still haven't finished up that big soldier piece. There's just a little bit more to do, but something that size, a little bit, is like, I might finish it in about 10 hours. I've got well over 100 hours into that one. And it had a camo pattern, and yes, I burned the camo pattern because you're going to get values with a wood burner that you can never match with colored pencils. So I would recommend burning it and then using color as an added bonus. Okay, so I can't work. You can see I'm working outside of my comfort zone there. My hand position is not working for me, and so you can see I've got these herky-jerky lines in here. So I'm gonna turn it and work on it. We are upside down now, and that will work a lot easier. Oh, thank you, Clark. That's very sweet. I really appreciate that. It's a little bit nerve-wracking. I will admit that I've been a little bit, a little bit nervous about doing this, just because probably like a lot of artists, I'm more of a quiet and reserved person. I tend to be a little bit of a hermit up here on the mountain, so this social interaction thing is not, something that I usually do. So hopefully I don't bore you guys with my monologue here, but I really just love you guys doing the feedback and the questions and all that. That really helps give me direction here. Lori, yes, your craft room. You gave up your craft room for a teen boy. Oh, you're in the living room too. Nice. Yep. You do what you gotta do. And my husband just kind of shakes his head when he comes home and everything's moved around again. But I have to be able to operate. So we do what we have to do. Lillian, would outlining make it easier for us to start with? Absolutely. Yes. Normally when I would do a project like this, I would do all the outlining, then I would go back and I would do all the buffer zone, and then I would go back and burn all the black background. I would have that done and taken care of before I ever started on the flames or on the subject, whatever subject it is. But that takes time. That takes a lot of time, and I didn't want to give you guys, how to burn flames, and it's just outlines and black. So I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but yes, absolutely. If you are doing this, I would do all the outlining, then the buffer zone, and then the black background. Totally. That's a very good question. Oh, thank you, Terry. That's very sweet. No, I don't have any crazy accents or anything. At least I don't think. And of course, that's the thing. You don't think that you have an accent, but everybody else does. Yes, I love the smell of wood burning as well, Terry. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Lillian, I am in, I don't know if you've heard of Glenwood Springs, but I'm, maybe a half hour from Glenwood Springs. Aspen, we're about an hour from Aspen. Amazingly, we are 1,000 feet higher here at our house than Aspen, which is really cool. We are right at 9,000 feet, and I love it. Thank you, Mellow Yellow. I really appreciate that. Okay, so now, even though I'm on the wrong side of these little guys here, normally I would burn these from the other side, but I'm burning really light and moving fast, so I'm able to kind of cheat and sneak that in there. Like I said, this is really rough guidelines. It's pretty sloppy, but it's actually quite light. I don't know if you can maybe see. So they're not solid black. They're pretty light. But at least, here, let me turn this back around and zoom out for you. So at least we can kind of see more of the overall shape of the flames. Now, a lot of these funny, oh my gosh, that looks like rabbit ears. These little things up here, we're gonna fade those back into the black background to where they're just kind of a wisp. So those are gonna be really hard to see there, which is including this guy right here. Now, Keystone Resort, yes, that is beautiful. That's a few hours from here. Boulder, nice. Englewood, that's great. Very good. Yeah, we're, probably 4 hours from the Denver area. And I've not been there in a very long time, and I'm okay with that. Okay. I don't like big cities. So, cool. Thank you, Misty. All right. So, I guess if you guys want to continue on your own on this, maybe you might just kind of focus on that black background because we've got maybe about 5 minutes left here. And I would burn this again. I would make that darker. Again, holding the point at a real low and flat angle, because if you point up and you're going to dig in and dent that wood, and we don't want to do that, otherwise these will still stand out. So go ahead and do your soft edged black outline, and then do your buffer zone, turning the wood as it suits your hand so that your overburn is always kind of out here in no man's land. And then if you want to go ahead and then just get that back in film, burn in the strips, kind of like that. And if you're a little bit unsure on how to burn in the dark background in these tight areas, we can maybe start with that next week. So what I might go ahead and do is I will do the buffer zone from here over and burn that, and then from here over I'll kind of block in these edges because that's pretty simple and time consuming, and then we'll work together on burning the black areas in here. Something kind of funny is, I'll have to find it for the next video, but when wood burning these tiny areas, I actually modified one of these points, and I obviously turned it off, but I took a Dremel tool to one of these things and I just ground off a lot of it and made a smaller point. It still has the same shape as this, but it's able to fit into some of these tiny areas so much easier. So if you want, I can show you that as well. And maybe we can do a little bit of both. So I think since we're kind of at a good stopping point there, this might be where we'll call it for the night. Oh yeah, you can see my phone in there. That's always fun. That I'm trying to keep an eye on messages here in front of me, because if I keep looking at the camera, then I'm gonna make more mistakes. So thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Clark. Thank you, Misty. Yes, the books are wonderful, but seeing it and reading it is definitely a lot different. And I've, over the years, come up with some of these weird little things that just work perfectly for me. And so being able to teach that in real time and kind of show you and then ask, give more feedback is really cool. So I'm glad everybody enjoyed this. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Dances with Aardvarks. Cool. Thank you, Donald. Thank you, Faye. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Lori. Thanks, Karen, Dawn, Mellow Yellow, Lynx Lady. You guys are all awesome. Tip mods. Okay, yes, I'll show you that other point. I think I'll have to find it because I've not used it very much. Thank you, Douglas. Thank you, Steve. Cool. All right, well, I think this was a really good first try for the live stream. So before we kind of sign off, does anybody else have any questions that they want answered right now? I mean, I don't have anywhere else to go, so the nearest nightclub or whatever is like an hour away, so I don't do that anyway. I'm just here at home. Cool. Okay. All right, so I'll give maybe just a few more minutes if anybody else has some questions, and then let's go ahead and plan for same time, same day next week. That let's see, that's 6 o'clock my time, which would be I think 8 on the East Coast, and is it 4 on the West Coast? Okay, yes, we'll do this again next week, and I'll have a new link set up. All my live streams can be accessed from my website. Just click on that live stream button up in the menu, and it'll take you to the most recent one. As soon as this is done and we log off, it shouldn't take me much time at all, and I will post this on Patreon, so you guys can go back over that if you would like. Okay. All right. Looks like people are dropping off, so I will see you next week, and hope you have a great night.